The president supposedly says, no, gentlemen, it's enough. I have had my time. I have done my party. What's going to happen?
He'll be dealt with by the party in terms of his constitution. He is a party member and he swore to comply with the instructions of the party. The party has instructed him to remain in office by another 2 years. If he decides to disobey, the party will deal with him in accordance with this constitution.
Yeah, but he may as well say, I have resigned from ZANU-PF, I want to go and rest.
We can ask him, but the party will deal with him.
Even if he has resigned voluntarily?
If he resigns, then he ceases being a party member, and the party will not be able to deal with him.
What's going to happen?
But for as long as he remains, I do not think that will happen, because I know that he's a party member at heart. But in the event of the unthinkable happening, then definitely I'm now reasoning as a lawyer, the party will deal with him according to its constitution.
And then lastly, what is on the Shigananda narrative?
In the first place, can you define Shigananda? In my own definition of Shigananda, those are criminals, economic saboteurs. And definitely that statement is correct to say the party does not agree with Shigananda. It does not want looters, it does not want corrupt people, it does not want people who make money using
unscrupulous
means, yes.
We have equated having things with being, so that those who have things are considered more human beings. They are not arrested, they are not harassed because they have things. They have Lamborghinis, they have Porsche Cayennes, they have big houses. So every single person now wants to have things. And the best way to get things is either you get miracle money in church, you go to the occult, or you steal.
All right, are these the persuaders that Emerson Mnangagwa referred to me, that I'll persuade those that persuade me not to persuade me? That's interesting. Honestly, interesting interview. Mangwana. I'm going to also drop a link so that you guys can watch the entire video. It is a bit interesting. But I must tell you that things are looking very bad. Chiwenga is making very interesting moves. I can tell you, Zimbabweans are fed up of what's currently going on in the country. But I also have a very interesting question for every Zimbabwean. Do you really think the liberation struggle was necessary? I repeat, do you think the liberation struggle was necessary, considering the kind of chaos that is in the country today? Talk about violence, plunder, abductions, killings. I mean, just the instability, poverty. It's sad. It's sad. It is really sad. Let me read that comment that was dropped by Brighton Matebuka. He said, I repeat, it is not focused on winning the legal arguments over the Constitutional Amendment Bill No. 3. He is preoccupied with getting it over the line, turning it into law, regardless of whether or not it's constitutional. These debates are there for a waste of time. I disagree. The debates are important pound for pound, in the words of Justice Mavedzenge. We cannot watch while the country die. And I must say I'm excited, because you guys know that the retired military generals and some of the senior citizens have said enough. Mnangagwa need to go through a referendum if he thinks that Zimbabweans love him that much. So Mangwana is not the representation of Zimbabweans. A group of greedy individuals who are being bought with cash cannot represent the entire suffering of our people. So it's not looking great. Well, we are here talking about the kind of bribes that are going on in the country. I have no words for ZCC Church. And I'm referring to the one that is being led by Bishop Mutend, the 78-year-old. I must tell you that today, again, he has received another Mercedes-Benz worth $450K and $2 million cash. You heard me correctly. $2 million cash. So that are the reports. And last year, I want to remind you that also Chivaya bought him a Mercedes-Benz that worth 600. That was 600,000 if I'm not mistaken. And $1 million he received. We need to ask the questions, what's going on with the ZCC Church? You know, I'm in an era where I think taking my Bible, reading the house, sitting around the dinner table, raising our children in love, and the respect for others is the only way. Because the church, most churches today are corrupted by criminals. They think they are loved, or some of them even claiming that it's God. No, it's not. It's criminals just buying your silence so they can loot in peace. Wisdom is profitable to direct. So before we get into the nitty-gritties or the hot topic of today, I want you to also take a listen to what Mangwana said. Go ahead.
Me that say 2013 Ndinenge Chipo, but he has been clear more than thrice at international level, even locally, and even the last time he met journalists, some of our colleagues, he made it clear that even persuaders like you, he will persuade you back, not to persuade you.
I heard that.
Question.
I heard that. I heard that. But at the same time, do not realize that it is the party which assigned him to lead it, assigned him to lead the country. So he being a party member, he must listen to the voice of the party and the voice of the people. He has also said that he will not contradict the voice of the people, because the voice of the people is the voice of God. That's his statement. So now that the people have spoken and have told him, remain in office by another 2 years, he is duty bound to listen to that voice of the people.
When did the people say they want him to go beyond 2028?
The party, at its conference.
But he's not a president of the party. He's a
No, he starts off, he's assigned by the party to lead the country. He's running this country as an assignment given by ZANU-PF.
No, not ZANU-PF only.
First of all, he gets a mandate from
voted for him.
He gets a mandate from ZANU-PF to be its
party leader,
and
to become the national president
and its candidate in elections. They filled him into an election. Then they mandate him. Now the people have mandated the same ZANU-PF has mandated him to make another 2 years in office.
But Mr. Mangwana, the voice of the people is the voice of God. I thought this is where you need to give people a chance to have a say vis-a-vis these constitutional.
We are giving people a chance to have a say through their parliament. The people elected parliament to make laws for the good governance of this country on their behalf. And this is one of the laws parliament is making.
Is it your fair assessment that over 2 million people that voted for the president would have to be 300 people would then decide on behalf of over 2 million people?
That is what we agreed. That is what we agreed as Zimbabweans, to say this country is going to be run through laws created by this parliament of 300 people.
Is it your reasoning that if this had become clear to the electorate before the election, your party would have been voted back into office?
Correct. The party, people are aware that they elected ZANU-PF to make laws for this country. And this is just one of the laws it's breaking.
So why is it so difficult to just go back to them and give them?
It's not necessary. It's not necessary to have the nation go to the extent of all those expenses. It's not necessary.
But you need a confirmation. You simply say you need to give people a chance to say this.
Is it necessary? Is it required by law? We do what the law says we must do. We don't spend money simply because it's good to do so. It's so expensive. You only do it when you think it's necessary. If the law requires you to do it, and the law does not require us to do it.
Right, I know some of you, it's your first time to pass through this channel. I want to say you're welcome. Please do not forget to subscribe and make sure that you ring the bell. I also want to send some love and light to those that are always joining me on this show, that you are also respected. Thumbs up the video and share with others. Moving on. You and I know that in 2023, we voted for own leaders or own members of parliament, and they were all chugged out by a criminal from the street whom I think should have been behind bars, because I can never forget the interview that Comrade Geza had. May his soul rest in eternal peace. I remember he said, Vanamatanga should sue this political criminal, referring to Sengezo Shavangu. We are not going to agree to the nonsense. Mr. Mangwana, we are 20 steps ahead of you. You're very late. Okay, I need to read Dexter Morgan's comment. He said, our constitution is crystal clear. A president can serve a maximum of 2 5-year terms. Any change of this rule requires a national referendum, and the sitting president can't benefit from it. That's the built-in safeguard to guarantee leaders to step down after 2 terms. But now, ZANU-PF is pushing to stretch those terms to from 5 to 7 years without a referendum. And they want the current president to gain from it. This sets a dangerous precedent. What's to stop them from extending it even further tomorrow? What I'm hearing from ZANU-PF is where it all ends. Where is the new safety net to block endless extensions? They owe us transparency. Come clean on this. I've always been saying Mnangagwa should be the one that set the precedents in our country that you can't cross a certain line. Because what have destroyed Zimbabwe is just a lack of principles and values. It is built on criminality. I've always been telling you that criminality did not start after 1980. They were infiltrated. In the words of Thabo Mbeki, he said that what we didn't know is that we had won the battle, but we did not win the war. Meaning we were played, but heavily infiltrated by criminals. It's shown where Zimbabwe is today. Anyway, but I have bad news for Mr. Mangwana. Bad ones. But before I proceed with this explosive letter that has been unleashed today by retired generals and also some of the senior citizens to say no to 2030 without a referendum, I wanted to let you know that there are so many interesting lawsuits that are being filed left, right, and center. Yesterday, Dubeko, incredible former member of parliament, who has been really on the trenches in the opposition space, very hardworking guy. He also filed a lawsuit yesterday against the parliament. This morning, we're surprised to see another lawsuit being filed. Definitely came from Zigananda's faction, that I can tell you. It is also suing, that is dragging Fadzemaere, Vanatenda, E.T. Maduku to court. Interesting days ahead. Anyway, let's move on and look at some of the important points that were raised by the generals. The letter is currently dated 12 March 2026, and the thing is circulating right now. I'm also going to drop a link so that for those that have not have access to it can also read it. The Clerk of Parliament, Parliament Building, again the address, Dear Sir, submissions by Zimbabwean retired generals and senior civil servants who are ex-combatants. We must first begin with the revolutionary salutations. On the proposed constitutional amendments number 3 bill and the sanctity of the people's will, we are responding in terms of section 328, subsection 4 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which reads in part, 3. Parliament must invite members of the public to express their views on the proposed bill in public meetings through written submissions and must convene meetings and provide facilities to enable the public to do so. This is in response to calls by the Clerk of Parliament for submissions, as we now do in writing. We write to you today not as rebels, not as dissenters, and not as enemies of the party to which we have given our entire lives. We speak as men who were present when this nation was being born in blood and fire, men who commanded comrades to their death with a solemn promise that the people of Zimbabwe would one day govern themselves. It is now clear that promise is now under threat. We have in the recent past restrained ourselves, and we cannot remain silent. We take this opportunity now through our submissions. Let history bear witness to what we endured. We shall not be labor Zimbabweans with accounts of a war they are well acquainted with. A war they lived through, a war against Smith and his regime. Our children have been told of on many occasions. Thus it began. In 1977, it was Gorere Msangano, the year of the People's Party ZANU. In 1978, Gorere Vanu, the year of the people. In 1979 was the year the party moved towards the new dawn of an independent Zimbabwe. And in 1980, Gorere Masimba Vanu, the year of the power of the people. These were not mere slogans and programs. They were the covenant we made with every Zimbabwean living and dead, that sovereignty would rest with the masses, not with the privileged few. We reminded those with short memories, some of whom sit in parliament today as members of ZANU-PF. In the earliest days of our party, there was no president. After the removal of the late Reverend Stole, power was held collectively by the people and their representatives. It was not until 1985, at a congress convened at Borodale Racecourse in Harare, that a party president was formally elected in the person of the late President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, who until then was Secretary General. It was the people who voted for the president of ZANU, and the position of first secretary was established separately from that of Secretary General. This was by deliberate design. The founding principle was unambiguous. Power drives from the people and belongs to the people, and the people alone choose their leaders. That is the philosophy upon which this revolution was built and must remain the same. We therefore ask, with heavy hearts, are we now reversing everything we bled for through these amendments? Are we returning to the era of Ian Smith, when only a privileged elite, the Zhigananda, as we called them, the likes of Zaiwana, Gumede, and others, had the right to participate in governance? Zhigananda have since resurfaced. The last 2 pages that we're going to be looking at are fire. Okay, there's quite a number of things that they said, but preferably I'm going to pick up on these 2, which are very crucial. ZANU-PF may govern its own internal affairs as it sees fit. That is the party's sovereign right. But the national constitution is not ZANU-PF's property. It belongs to every Zimbabwean, including the millions who have never held a party card in their lives. Democracy does not permit one party, however powerful, to reshape the nation's foundation law without the express consent of the people. And the democracy demands not only that the majority governs, but that it governs in a manner that protects the rights of the majority. Why should our party, the party in which we as stockholders, bully other citizens, most of whom are not members of any political party at all? We did not fight for ZANU-PF members alone. We fought for the people. We will not move an inch from this position. We commanded and led men and women into combat. We looked them in the eye and told them that their sacrifice would not be in vain, and their children would inherit a Zimbabwe governed by the people, for the people. Many of those comrades never came home. They are buried in the soil of this country and in foreign lands. They died with our promise in their ears. Do the architects of these amendments wish to make liars of us? Do they wish us to stand at the graves of our fallen and admit that what we told them was false? That will not happen, not while we still draw breath. When we went to war, we did not go in search of opportunity. We went in the full knowledge that death was the most likely outcome. The only opportunity before us was the opportunity to die for people's freedom. Those championing these constitutional changes are driven by a different kind of opportunity, the opportunity for personal enrichment, for the consolidation of power, for the protection of privilege. We ask them plainly, what of the generality of Zimbabweans? What of the mother in Binga, the farmer in Chireze, the young men in Mbare, our daughters who can only dream of better future? What is there in these amendments for them? We are not rebelling. We are exercising the most fundamental right in any democracy, the right to speak. We remain loyal to the party, loyal to the nation, and loyal above all the people of Zimbabwe, in whose name every sacrifice of the liberation struggle was made. We call on Parliament to do the right thing and submit these proposed amendments to a national referendum, as the democratic principles demand. Anything less is not constitutional amendment. It is betrayal not of us, but of the Zimbabwean who ever dared to hope for a better country. For and on behalf of the retired generals and senior civil servants who are ex-combatants, Air Marshal retired Henry Muchena, written during the constitutional amendment public debate period, and respect retired General Henry Muchena and others. I must say that fathers are standing up, and I say respect for you. I want to thank you so much for standing up, because for us as children, we feel lonely. We feel lost. We feel like we don't even have homes because of the current greedy evil and diabolical regime that is in Zimbabwe today. We are not going to mince words at all. We stand by what we believe in. Something has gone wrong in our country. There is no way we can continue living the way that we do. Something has to give. And I'm also having a challenge with Emmerson Mnangagwa. He knows exactly the reason why Mugabe was removed. Was trying to tamper with the constitution and to give himself more time and cause chaos in our country. Let's look at Matebuka's comment as well on the very same issue. You see, Chiwenga's coalition emerges from the shadows and pitches a referendum. The alleged letter below from the retired army generals represented by retired Air Marshal Henry Muchena appears to be the first solid signal to ED of ED's power, of Chiwenga's power base and their determination to confront him are considered enormous and a darkening of ED's political horizon. Their willingness to come into the open in tantamount to a firing of the first salvo. They are warning ED that he is about to cross the proverbial Rubicon. They will not fold their hands and let him get away with it. There are echoes between this document, Chiwenga's well-received rhetoric in Mutare and his presentation in cabinet opposing the bill. This suggests coordination or collusion depending on which side of the political divide you are on. It is now confronted with his first real test or potential comment of jeopardy in years. This is the kind of language he understands. Once this moment passes, depending on how he responds to it, we are likely to see escalation or de-escalation. In the words of Comrade Geza, the late, the only 2030 you're going to see is the one that is on your watch. You mean business. I've told you a few days ago that you're not only dealing with the people that you see. No. This thing is bigger than what you can ever imagine. The country cannot be stolen. Kana nyika yabiwa. Inafuna kudzokera kumaridzimayo. It must. But that's what I've always been saying to Emmerson Mnangagwa. You cannot. The people won't let you. Again, this is what needs to heal fathers. The characteristics of entitlement and of superiority, it needs to be dealt with harshly. Unfortunately, because we have rogue elements in our country that feels like they are more Zimbabwean than others. The way money is being spent, the parties that are being held in Paris, guys, people are spending thousands and thousands of dollars, while some of the kids aren't even have medication today. We're seeing quite a number of Zimbabweans who are begging people to say, please help me. I can't even have treatment. What are we doing with this country? Why are we behaving the way that we do? That's one of the reasons why I'm forever respecting the deputy minister of the president in South Africa who said, Zimbabwe has got the solution. They have to fix themselves. And this is the time that we are going to fix ourselves. Rules are rules. Emmerson Mnangagwa should respect rules or must respect rules. I mean, he swore before the people and said, I'm going to honor this constitution. He has been openly so that I'm a constitutionalist. So when we see people like Mnangagwa coming out and try to be dramatic, we are not going to tolerate it. I mean, Chris Mutango was very clear that it is all on him, Mnangagwa. Let him not try to lie about, oh, I'm going to persuade the persuaders. No, it's him who is engineering all this chaos and toxicity. It's time for him to be stopped. Anyway, I know that some of you would really have a lot to say. Please do so respectfully. I'm going to let you listen to Brian Kagoro and his comments.
We are selling air. We've been telling young people, go to school, get educated, then you'll get a good job, you'll be empowered. But in most of our countries, the people who are living the best lives have no education. The people who are driving the best cars, no education. We've built a culture where we are telling everybody else to comply with governance processes and the instrumental and intrinsic value of governance institutions. And yet those who break the law, either because they are so high up in government, they are untouchable. So high up in the military, they are untouchable. So high up in the police, they are untouchable. They, their children, their cronies, their girlfriends, and their cats seem to live with impunity. And the only people who live subjected to the reformed governance systems and laws are poor people who will never break through the glass ceiling of deified, sanctified, and elevated fiefdom. How do you deal with the fact that in some of our countries, we've governed the people so badly that citizens are by nature bandits and hostile to the state, even the things that the state does that is good for them? We have political cadres now occupying significant positions in government because they are loyal. Some of them are fantastically incompetent, but they are wonderful people. Unfortunately, wonderfulness does not cure the underdevelopment challenge or the ability of external forces to hijack our governance. The middle class is the worst enemy of governance reforms. In most instances, when our institutions are beginning to fail, the middle class takes an escapist attitude. The middle class, electricity is not being provided. We buy generators and solar power. We don't even hold to account those who collect taxes to make sure we have electricity. When security is not working, we hire private security firms. We are no longer interested in the police. Everything that the middle class does is to delegitimize the state when we are legitimating our comforts. The fact that we have lost faith in the state is what enables the big gulf between the top, the middle, and the bottom. We're recycling thieving elites who are living half the time out in Europe, investing everything they were stealing out in Europe. Now the problem we had was, we tell these young people, you have to be law-abiding. There will not be peace and security. Based on this lie, that others have a right to eat, and the rest have a right to silence, right? Silence, eating is in progress. Oh, silence. And then you then come to some of the elites, you say, but the things happening in your country, what do you think about them? And they say, hey, Aki, it's bad manners to talk whilst you are eating. So they are silent, observing table manners. We have equated having things with being, so that those who have things are considered more human beings. They are not arrested, they are not harassed because they have things. They have Lamborghinis, they have Porsche Cayennes, they have big houses. So every single person now wants to have things. And the best way to get things is either you get miracle money in church, you go to the occult, or you steal. Natif. So what we have done is created an industry of co-conspirators, right from the top of government, the top of mosque and church, to the bottom of society. Those who are deemed as the role models, those that are deemed as the philanthropists, are in essence criminals who masquerade in our society. However, and this is the thing that I came here to say to you, modern day governance reforms must accept others have designs on our countries. You can say, no, my country is small, or my country is peaceful. My country does not fight with anyone. They don't care as long as you have what they need. They are going to come and try and corrupt your politicians, corrupt your citizens. If they can't corrupt them, cause them to rebel against you. If they can't cause them to rebel against you, just cause some discontent. Sorry, I cannot be diplomatic. It is not my duty to be diplomatic. Pan-Africanism is not diplomatic. As black people, we were so, we spent half our time obeying rules. Here's the thing. I have a lot of time criticizing what Europeans and Americans and the Asians and others do to destroy our sovereignty. That we must never neglect doing. However, I would be dishonest if I did not focus that the discontent of the youth, their sense of exclusion, is the very fact that our local elite, political, bureaucratic, economic, and etc., have spent half their time disemboweling the state, taking out the honey, whilst the people are on the margins. All they're asking for is a little salt, a little bread, a little something to sustain their soul. I think the most politically unconscious by practice are those in most of our country's leadership. Because if they were conscious by having read book, they are not conscious by practice. Because it is not, you cannot be Pan-Africanist by making a great speech at the African Union and then come back and steal all your country's wealth. You know, some minister in a country not too far from here was paid $300,000 US for mining rights for people to get between 3 billion and 40 billion per month. So, my friends, most of the private sector in many African countries is really government senior ministers who at the point of privatization privatize the private, and they are the owners, and then they are simply fronts for Western interests. Say no if you want, and I'll produce evidence, right? So when we say private sector-led growth, the people are saying, you are asking us to give the thieves more money. So friends, if we are going to have a private sector, it needs to be not only patriotic but competent. The median age of leadership in Africa is 64. The median age overall, young people is 19, but the median age of leadership is 64. Now, in most countries, the number of people above the age of 64 is less than 4% of the population. And that 4% of the population controls 80% of power in our countries. The fastest growing industry in all our countries has been religion. Now, you do consciousness in school, they undo it in church. So I have a suggestion. It is for government and for the faith sector and others to work around what is it that we're trying to build, what kind of citizens. Because on average, religious entities gather 65% of the population 4 times a week, every week. Even the most effective politician is not able to do that. In some countries, a single religious leader gathers between 30 to 60,000 people in a stadium 3 times a week. And the government has to pay young people to come to a meeting like this because they need facilitation to travel. But those religious leaders get paid by the poor. And I will avoid, for purposes of peace and security, calling any of them fraudulent or false or manipulative. I'll just simply call them religious leaders. But the poor go and they pay. Even your grandmother, your great-grandmother pays. So the consciousness we need to build is together with those that control mass opinion on a regular basis. Religion is producing for us politicians. Religion is producing for us business people. Religion is producing for us lecturers. And these people are not going to lecture outside the comforts of their religious base. So I want to suggest religion is a key side of struggle. I need to say this, and I hope someone will hear me in this room. The countries that are leading in manufacturing of goods that we use every day, of technology that we use every day, are not Germany, Britain, France, and America. It's China, India, Turkey, South Korea, and etc. And if you ask us where we are sending our students, spending lots of money for fellowship and scholarships, we are still sending them to the past. That's why they come back with good French, good English, and sometimes even good Spanish. And they cannot produce anything. Electrical engineer, can't fix light bulb. As a former UN employee, I keep telling people, I was part of the lying industry that kept telling people, by 2050, 75% of Africans will be living in urban areas. And I keep saying the only reason why that will become true is because we are not investing in the rural sector. And let me repeat, the majority of conflicts generated by extractive industries, or generated by land grabbing, or generated by the battle over water are not urban conflicts. Those battles are happening in the rural areas. Now I understand why I was part of those miseducated elites who kept on saying by 2050, 75% of Africans will be living in urban areas. I was preparing our people to leave the land, to leave the rivers, to leave the water, to leave the organic food, to come into town, so that those who were coming with money to take it to invest for their own countries could come. And because they are not that sophisticated in most of our countries, it's easier for big industries and big people who are coming to grab land, grab wildlife and stuff, to corrupt them. That is where we fight from a base. And our base is we cannot be handing over our natural resources, our land, our water, and etc., and only training our young people to become good French and English speakers.